April 11, 2006, Aaron, Fritz, Anita, and a couple of June's friends and I were at her side. Beelzebub Bonnie was not, but I give her grace. I wouldn't give that bitch shit. One night, Cogni made the mistake of objecting when June invited a dealer over. June pointed out the error of his ways by punching, kicking, and scratching the hell out of him. When the police arrived, Joe was a bloody, toothless mess. That June spent 2 days in jail on battery and corporal injury charges. The Cogni took out a restraining order on June. He ran to the tabloids with a story painting himself as June's would-be savior from drugs and booze. He publicly countered with an allegation that Cogni was messing around with her niece, my granddaughter, Onika, who was living with them at the time, and June was simply protecting her. Who knows what the deal really was? 6 months later, June, what? What is this about? There's 2 times. Shut up, Blue. There is 2 times that Ruthie just skimmed over a situation of abuse with children. Okay, Ruthie? One time, Beelzebub Bonnie and her husband, Bowen, had went over to Ruthie's house, grabbed hold of Fawn, and brung her in while she was still a teenager. Probably taking full advantage of that little girl Fawn because I guess Bonnie's bonanza wasn't working anymore. So they probably was like, okay, if you don't want Bonnie's bonanza and, Bowen's butthole, you can use Fawn's. Okay? And for Ruthie to just say June publicly countered with an allegation that Cogni was messing around with her niece, my granddaughter, Onika, who was living with them at the time, and June was simply protecting her. Who knows what the deal was really? Like, what is happening here? What is this is the most dysfunctional bullshit I have ever read. This is dysfunctional bullshit. Now, we done read a lot of books, but this is family dysfunction at its best in the black version. Knows what the deal really was. 6 months later, June and Cogni got back together, and then they broke up again. Such was the life of an addict. When she wasn't in custody, June performed with Bonnie. They were billed as Bonnie and June at disco reviews, nightclubs, and cabarets, although by then June's voice was completely shot thanks to her drug abuse. One day in late 2005 or early 2006, she called me out of the blue on my cell phone while I was driving around in Boston. I immediately pulled into a parking lot to take the call and at first didn't even recognize June's voice. When I asked what was wrong, she said she had laryngitis. We hadn't spoken in a while and it was wonderful to reconnect. I suspect June held some resentment towards Anita and me for booting her from the group on account of her behavior. But now we didn't talk about that. June updated me on her life, performances, and future recording plans with Bonnie, with contribution from George Clinton and the Wu-Tang Clan. She asked about Allie and Connor, and I got her all caught up on our lives. It was a nice conversation, and I'm so thankful that it happened. Before I hung up, I told her that I loved her, then said, girl, you'd better care about your throat. Mindy Laparis was back in June's life, and I was concerned as well. She took June to see an ear, nose, and throat specialist in Beverly Hills. After doing an upper GI endoscopy on June, the doctor took Mindy aside. What kind of drugs does she do? He asked. Crackers, Mindy admitted. She has paralyzed a vocal cord. The specialist said she'll never sing again. Damn. Not long after that, I was floored by a video posted online of a December 2005 gig June and Bonnie did at the Wynn Hotel in Vegas. They were scary thin and appeared to this trained eye to be thoroughly wasted. Beelzebub Bonnie was clearly lip-syncing to a pre-recorded track, and all June did on stage was hold up a sign saying, "I love you." I wept when I saw the video, and it still haunts me. June was soon reduced to appearing at raves where no singing was required, and all that was expected of her was that she live up to the reputation of a party girl. Well, shit, them reality TV stars, that's all they do. The party came to a screeching halt on February 27, 2006, when June was found unconscious in her bedroom. She and Beelzebub Bonnie were living then with Bonnie's boyfriend, Bruce, a part-time writer and full-time drug dealer who later died of a heart attack after ingesting too many drugs. They lived in a 2-story loft in downtown Los Angeles near the art district and smoked crackers nonstop. Beelzebub found June lying on the floor and took her to a nearby physician who believed she had a massive stroke. He immediately called 911 and had June transported to UCLA Medical Center in Westwood. I was at home in Massachusetts when I received a call from Anita telling me that June had been hospitalized and that I'd better get out there quick. June, hooked up to the several machines in the hospital bed, tore us up. But that was just the first blow of a devastating 3-punch combination. In addition to a stroke, June had also suffered a heart attack, and further tests disclosed that she also had stage 4 lung cancer that had been metastasized in her breast, colon, liver, and bones. Anita and I held each other and cried until we could hardly breathe. Then it was time to get to work. They don't give a fuck about that Bonnie. They could care less about that Beelzebub Bonnie, and I don't blame them. June's stroke left her unable to talk or walk. When she finally woke up, she could communicate only by blinking her eyes. Eventually, she was able to mouth a few words. Her mind could process information, but her body wouldn't cooperate. She grew impatient and would try to swing her legs over the side of the bed to get up, but was incapable of moving by herself. The nurses and therapists would lift her out of bed and hold her up while she took a few halting steps, which always brought tears to my eyes. June's feisty spirit was clearly alive and well. She still had the fight and willpower to live, but damn, it still hurts to remember this picture of my beautiful baby sister. See, they don't give a fuck about Beelzebub. New hospice meant the end was near, but at the same time, we knew June would not have wanted to carry on in her current condition. I can tell you that she was unequivocally at peace in her last days, surrounded by family, friends, and loved ones. She was in a very good place. It and I still had touring commitments that were made months in advance, but we canceled all our remaining dates when Mike called me on the road and said it was time to come and say goodbye to June. On April 11, 2006, Aaron, Fritz, Anita, and a couple of June's friends and I were at her side. Beelzebub Bonnie was not, but I give her grace. I wouldn't give that bitch shit. I wouldn't give her nothing. I know that's your sister, but I'm not sure she could have handled being there at the end. Why? She was there during the good times. You don't want the bitch to be there during the bad times? She was there partying with June. Shoot. As June's 52-year-old life faded away, I climbed into bed and held her, and Anita and I softly sang Fire in her ears. Fortunately, June's death did not bring peace within the family. Beelzebub Bonnie deigned to join the rest of us to discuss burial plans because June did not leave any instructions behind. Bonnie blew up when we voted to have June's remains cremated. She claimed that was not what June wanted and actually likened cremation to co-signing June to burn in hell. Me, you can cremate me. That's the cheapest way. I don't want my family to be spending unnecessary money on put me in the ground when they could be spending that money on themselves. That's what I want. Don't spend no money on me when you put me in the ground, you know. And then Bonnie ass, she just come up, she ain't done nothing but create havoc and melee within the family. And now she got something to say about the lady she helped kill. Girl, if you don't go somewhere and sit your bitch ass there. Incredibly, Bonnie proclaimed that unless Anita and I agreed right then and there to let her back as a member of the Pointer Sisters, she would not contribute a cent where it concerned June's remains. Do you even got any money? That proclamation, our business was finished. Toodles! Bye, beach! Bye! She wasn't done. On the day of June's memorial service, Bonnie asked to have the limousine swing by her place so she could ride with the family. Aaron and Fritz put the brakes on that request. They were more than upset with her behavior at the family meeting and told her to get her own ride. I wish things could have been different with Bonnie at that time so we could have been a united family for June. Fortunately, Bonnie retaliated by going to Entertainment Tonight, the National Enquirer, and People magazine with a sob story about how we'd all frozen her out in her time of grief. But my brothers promptly set the record straight and for good measure mentioned Bonnie's tacky attempt to blackmail her way back into the Pointer Sisters. She never tattled again to the tabloids. That's all it took. The service was a reunion of family, friends, former associates, road managers, wardrobe assistants, band leaders, and fans. We laughed, cried, prayed, reminisced, and told war stories about each other in June. Every human emotion was on display. June hadn't performed with us in over 5 years. Anita and I always held out hope that she would someday rejoin us on stage. Now that would never happen, at least not in this world. We put our best foot forward and soldiered on. In 2008, Anita, Issa, singing many of June's parts, and I recorded 10 of our most popular songs on our self-released and distributed favorites. The CD was a big hit with our fans, and we moved a lot of units at our concerts. A year later, we added my granddaughter, Sadako, to take lineup after Issa became pregnant with her first child. Over the years, Issa and Sadako have built up their own fan base, and depending on what type of engagement it is, we alternate them. We show up ready for work and sing the songs our fans want to hear. According to a March 2015 Billboard magazine article, the Pointer Sisters are the 4th most successful female group of all time behind the Supremes, TLC, and Destiny's Child. In 2011, Anita was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and successfully underwent chemotherapy. Today, she is cancer-free. Hallelujah. We know that Anita is passed now. That show, I had an abdominal hematoma the size of a tuna. The doctor said it would take about a year for it to heal and gave me some really strong meds for the pain. But the pain didn't go away, and I ended up in the hospital 3 more times. When the doctor said I might have a cancerous cyst on my ovary and that the only way to find out for certain was to operate, I told Mike to call Anita and Bonnie in case things didn't go well. They both came immediately to be at my side. It was my first quality visit with Bonnie in several years, and I was so grateful to her for coming. That counted for a lot and helped some old wounds to heal. I love my sister. As I've made clear in this book, we had our differences and problems, but what siblings don't. This is some dysfunctional book. I've confessed to God and now to you. I was a mess. And if there's hope for someone like me, there's hope for everyone. My life is filled with both blessings and heartaches, but the blessings far outweigh the other. Life is far from perfect. I don't know anyone who is, but it's still pretty damn good. I'm still so excited, and I just can't hide it. Y'all, that was a good book. That was a very, very, very good book.
Just say that you love